Great having you all here today. It's already afternoon here where I am, so you're not really late. If you have any questions that you would like to address while we're going through the presentation, you can always put your question in the chat box, and at some point we'll probably stop and unmute your phone so that you can ask questions as well. So today I'm going to be looking at the regulations that data managers really need to be concerned about. The 21 Part 11 we know has impacted data management for quite some time. We'll look at, again, electronic signature, which is defined a little bit differently, or the rules are a little bit different depending on where you might be making your submission. We'll look at the components defining the computerized systems, and I overheard when you made a comment about validation of your systems. We can always focus on some of that too if it's not even embedded in this presentation. And then we'll talk about risk-based monitoring, because that's a new approach that is coming into play, and in that guidance the FDA actually mentions data management as a discipline, so it's something that we really need to pay attention to. And then there is the eSource implementation, and the Society for Clinical Data Management has actually published a white paper on how we are to look at electronic source when we're doing electronic data capture and things of that nature. So the FDA has defined, or we'll look at some of the high points of the 21 Part 11, and that is a system in which the electronic records and signatures are trustworthy, reliable, and secure. And electronic signatures are the equivalent to the paper records. And I would suspect that probably at your company annually they'll ask you to reaffirm or re-sign that testimony that you will say that your electronic signature is the equivalent of your written signature. Then there's also a system that discerns invalid or altered records, which is part of the data management component of the database. In other words, we have to have an audit trail so that we can actually recreate the study from beginning to end, looking at the data and the iterations of changes that have occurred, when they occurred, and who affected those changes. And then any signatures that are attached to an electronic record also are part of the regulations of the Part 11. The FDA has their definition of electronic signature, where they say that the use of electronic signature in electronic records, people who use them are required to file certification documents, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, where you attest to the fact that an e-signature is the legal comparator to your written. And so we have those as legally binding documents that we have on record with our company. So the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, they had an electronic signatures directive as of 2001. And Jane, you have a question. Is it required to do annually for the e-signature? I'm not sure whether it's annual or not. I worked for a company where you did it once when you were employed, and then other companies have sent it out every year, and I guess that might be just so that they haven't missed any new hires or things of that nature. But it doesn't, there's no requirement that you have to do it on an annual basis, but you do have to have that on record that you have attested that your e-signature is legally binding. There's a reflection paper on the expectations for the electronic source data and data transcribed to electronic data collection tools, and that is in a handout that you have received. And then there's a draft reflection paper on the use of interactive IVRS or IVWS in clinical systems. So that European directive is available for referral. The EU directive on electronic signatures, they have a stronger type of an e-signature than the US Part 11, and you have the EU directive is technology neutral, so you can have PKI based digital signatures that will meet the EU requirements. And there is a reference paper that's available through the Applied Clinical Trials, and it's based on the value of digital signatures in e-clinical applications, in case you are interested in reading something to that effect.